Welcome to another Friday live session for another lesson about the IELTS exam. And today we're going to really be talking about something very important and something I get asked about most often, and that is how to be fluent in English. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And in just a couple of minutes, we'll get started. But before we do, I just want to tell you a little bit about my situation today. I hope that you're having a good day or have had a good day wherever you are. And I hope you'll take the chance to say hi in the comments and let me know where you're watching from. As you know, many of you already know, I live in Canada, in the capital of Canada, which is Ottawa. And today we're enjoying some pretty special weather. It's minus 30 here in Ottawa today. So if you're thinking about moving to Canada for your studies or to work or immigrate, this is one of the joys of living in Canada. We're experiencing some really cold snap here in Ottawa today. But you know what? It's something that you get used to and something you can really enjoy. One of the things that's starting in Ottawa today is called Winterlude. It's a winter festival, and it's a very exciting time. Lots of tourists come to the city just to take part in this festival. So anyways, that's enough small talk for now. We want to get started on this lesson where I'm going to be explaining something very important, and that's not only how you can become fluent in English and really knowing what fluency is. So let's get started. And as well as that, I'm going to give you 10 tips on how to become more fluent in English. So what does it really mean to be fluent in English? And this is what I want to share with you in this lesson. A lot of times when we think about fluency, we have different ideas. Maybe your idea of fluency is to be able to speak and function in English like a native speaker. Now, I've been speaking English all my life. I'm a very fluent English speaker. It comes naturally to me. So if you're thinking about being a native speaker, it may be a goal that you really don't have to reach. You don't have to become like a native speaker. You can be very fluent in English without ever reaching the level of a native speaker. The difference really when it comes to being a native speaker is that native speakers speak English very naturally. And that's a realistic goal for you. If you're thinking about becoming a native speaker, don't think about vocabulary and grammar and how quickly you speak. Think about just thinking about being very natural when it comes to being in everyday situations in English. And that leads to the next one. Some people think that fluency means the same thing as quickness, being able to speak quickly. And this is not the case at all when it comes to English. And I'll give you an analogy or example for this. I'm a very good driver. I have a really good driving record when it comes to driving my car. I haven't had an accident in over 25 years, maybe longer. I have a perfect driving record. I never get speeding tickets, and I never get pulled over by the police because I'm not driving properly. I'm a very good driver when it comes to operating my car. But I don't drive in a Formula One race. I'm not a Formula One racing car driver. My driving ability is not shown in my ability to drive fast like a race car. My ability in driving is because I drive and I fit in with the traffic. I go with the flow. and I drive safely and carefully. So the same is true with your English. Being able to speak quickly is not a sign of fluency. Speaking quickly is something that some native speakers do, and some native speakers speak very slowly and methodically. So don't confuse fluency with speed. Some people think that fluency is all about vocabulary, having a lot of vocabulary at your disposal. And you know what? Fluency is not all about vocabulary. I did a little research in the last few days, and I discovered that according to Webster's dictionary, there are about 180,000 words that are common in the English language, that are used commonly. There are about twice that many in the dictionary, but there's about 180 that are used overall quite commonly. But the average native English speaker, someone like me, someone like who speaks English every day, has a vocabulary of somewhere between 20 and 30,000 words. So it doesn't even a native English speaker doesn't even come close to using those 180,000 words. But here's another thing that's really important to understand. Out of that 20 or 30,000 words that maybe a native speaker knows, only 3,000 are used on a daily basis in common everyday situations. So if you want to be a fluent English speaker, fluent in English when it comes to writing and reading and listening, you don't need a huge vocabulary. You just need to learn the words that are common for everyday conversations and that allow you to feel natural when you're speaking. And this is even true for the IELTS exam. You know, the IELTS exam, and maybe you're studying for the academic IELTS exam. Well, it's not called academic because you need to know academic vocabulary, and it's not based on academic subjects. All the topics and subjects in the IELTS exam are common everyday topics about your family, about your job, about school, about the things that you do every day, your hobbies, your interests. So when it comes to your vocabulary, if you have an everyday common use of vocabulary, that's going to allow you to consider yourself to be fluent in English. And the last thing when it comes to fluency is when we think about our level of English. According to an international standard of measuring English, there are 6 levels from A1 up to C2. And C2 would be an advanced native level English speaker. But to be considered fluent, you need about a B2 level. If you have a B2 level of English, and that's the 4th highest level, you could consider yourself fluent. And interestingly enough, if you compare this standard of English measurements to the IELTS exam band scores, a B2 level is enough to get a 6 or 6.5. So when you're thinking about your English language level and fluency and putting it into the context of the IELTS exam, you can consider yourself to be fluent enough in English for the IELTS exam once you've reached a B2 or C1 level. So what really is fluency? Well, fluency is a very personal question. And this is what you should ask yourself when it comes to trying to consider and judge whether you are fluent in English or not. And just simply ask yourself this: how do you feel in common English language situations? Most people who tell me why the reason for learning English, and as well as IELTS, I teach English language lessons. Most often it's because they want to feel comfortable and confident and competent in these everyday situations like going to the doctor or going to the bank, moving to an English-speaking country and being able to take your child to the doctor, or going to the bank, or even going shopping for groceries. These everyday common situations at work and at school are where you want to feel fluent in English. So the first question to ask yourself when it comes to fluency is, how do you feel? How do you feel when you're placed in an everyday English language situation? And it's common English language situations. And again, let me remind you that on the IELTS exam, this is the kind of English that you're being tested on, the kind of English that you use in common everyday situations. So your goal when it comes to fluency is really to accomplish three things. And again, it's based on how you feel. Do you feel confident in these everyday situations? Do you feel competent? Do you feel you have the ability to function in English? And do you feel comfortable? And I say comfortable because this is so important, because I really believe that the key to fluency is to feel natural and easygoing and comfortable when you're placed in an English language situation. So if you feel confident, if you feel competent, if you feel comfortable, you're probably fluent in English. And if you feel confident and competent and comfortable when it comes to English, this is the same feeling that you'll want to have on test day when it comes to the IELTS exam. And this is my mission. This is my goal when it comes to teaching about the IELTS exam and helping people just like you, is that you will feel totally confident and competent and comfortable on test day. And it is really possible for you to achieve. So what I want to do for the remaining time of this lesson is just give you my top 10 tips when it comes to being fluent in English and speaking fluently in English. Tip number 1 is immersion. As much as possible, immerse yourself in English language speaking situations. And what does immersion mean? Well, think of it like this. Think of it like a fish in water. Now, living in water is not your natural situation, but think of it as jumping into the ocean and staying underwater and being able to function. Totally immerse yourself in an English language situation, and don't be afraid of whether or not you'll survive, because your English language level will help you to survive. But just take as many occasions as possible to fully immerse yourself into these English language situations. And so if you, for every opportunity you have, if you have the chance to go where only English is spoken, go there. If you have a situation where only English is spoken and used, then put yourself in that situation as much as possible. This is why so many people travel to English-speaking countries to learn English, because they know that they will be totally immersed in English, and they find that this is the way to improve their English the fastest. So I would encourage you, as much as possible, just immerse yourself in these English language situations. Tip number 2 has to do with accents and dialects. A lot of times you may feel you're not fluent because your native accent is still too strong, but I want you to know that even within English, there are many different accents. If you go to Australia or Canada. If you go to the United States or the UK or any other English-speaking country, you are going to notice that there are different accents. There's no one perfect accent for English. And the same is true with dialects. And dialects has to do with the expressions and vocabulary and even grammar forms that are used in different English-speaking countries. The UK has different vocabulary than Canada. And even within Canada, there are different areas of Canada with different dialects and different accents. So just be aware that fluency is not all about just accents or dialects. But I would encourage you, when it comes to English, if you're thinking about moving to the UK or you're thinking about moving to Canada, try and discover the different accents and dialects that are common to the country that you're considering living in and moving to. Tip number 3, to improve your vocabulary, read. Read as much as possible. This is the best way to improve your vocabulary. You know, fluency, when we think about fluency, we often think it's just about speaking. But fluency is your ability in all 4 skills of English: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. So the best way to improve your vocabulary and help in this area of fluency so that you're learning more words is to read. Read and read as much as you can, and read about these common everyday topics. Read the newspaper so that you're dealing with everyday situations. Read magazines. Go on the internet and read about common everyday topics, things about family, things about friends, things about the weather and sports. Whatever is of interest to you, read and read for vocabulary. This is one of the best ways. So reading is one great step for improving your fluency, and this is the area where your vocabulary can improve the most. So make reading a part of your daily practice if you want to improve your vocabulary and improve your fluency. So what about the next tip? For listen for pronunciation. Pronunciation, again, is not the ability to speak without an accent. We all have an accent, no matter where we're from, but listening can improve our pronunciation. And this is the sound of words and phrases and sentences. Pronunciation isn't just about being able to pronounce individual words. It's more like music. And one of the best ways to improve your listening and your pronunciation skills is to listen to music. But as you're listening to music, or as you're listening to podcasts or radio shows on the internet, or listening to how they speak on television, listen for how they speak and then try to mimic it. If you hear a sentence, and then try to repeat it. Not just one word at a time, not just listening to words, because English is like a musical language. We have different intonation for different things. If I want to ask a question, my intonation will go up at the end of the sentence. How do you like this sushi? Well, that has a different tone than if I just say, I really like sushi. You can hear the difference in the way the sentence is formed. So make sure you spend a lot of time listening, and as you listen, mimic, sing along with the songs when you're listening to music. And this will go a long way to helping you with your fluency in English, because your pronunciation and your intonation will improve as you go. My next tip is to write. Write every day for expression. We've already spoken about reading and listening. These are the two skills in English where we're reacting to what we read and to what we hear. But writing is where we begin to express ourselves. And by writing every day, just for a few minutes every day, maybe keeping a diary, you will learn to express your thoughts and your ideas and put your feelings down on paper, and even to express your opinions about different things. And this is actually a skill that is tested clearly on the IELTS exam. But by starting to write, you begin to express yourself. You begin to be able to share your ideas, to share your thoughts and your feelings and your opinions by putting them down on paper. And then it becomes quite natural for you to do this, and you become more fluent. So read for vocabulary development, listen for pronunciation and intonation, and write to begin to express yourself and share your ideas and develop that ability to share your thoughts and your feelings. First of all, just by writing them in a notebook, and then it leads to be able to expressing these same things when you're in conversations with other people. And that's my next tip. Speak with a buddy. Find someone that you can speak with regularly in English. And it doesn't have to be a native English speaker. It could be someone at the same level with you, or someone who's a little more advanced. But make sure to make speaking with someone in English a regular part of your routine. And this is so important, and it will help you with feeling more comfortable and confident and competent in your speaking ability. And this will help you to feel that same way when it comes to the IELTS exam. If you're looking for more tips on speaking, I've just completed 3 brand new videos on my YouTube channel about speaking for the IELTS exam, but there are also videos that will really help you when it comes to develop how becoming more fluent in English. So don't hesitate to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to check out the videos that I've recently released about how to be more fluent and speak more fluently. If you don't have someone that you can speak with on a regular basis, I'm just going to give you 2 quick suggestions. First of all, stand in front of the mirror and have a conversation with yourself. That seems to sound funny, but it does give you the opportunity to practice out loud. Another thing that you can do is you can just take your phone and record yourself speaking. And if you need ideas for recording yourself speaking, you can even read out loud what you've written in your daily writing. So you can read out loud what you've put in your daily writing, and then you can try saying it without reading it. And this will give you the opportunity to even hear yourself speaking. And this will help you to improve your fluency in English. And tip number 7 is, this is such an important tip. Start to try and think in English. And this is where, as you're coming to an English language situation, you're not always translating in your head. And one of the ways that you can do this is just simply sit down by yourself, close your eyes and relax, and just start going over conversations, imaginary conversations in your head. Put yourself in a specific situation. Pretend you're at the store talking with one of the store clerks about buying a shirt or buying some clothing, and go over the conversation in your head, how you imagine it would go out. Or if you imagine yourself going to the doctor and explaining something to the doctor, and just do this quietly and silently in your own head, And this will go, you'll be amazed at how far this takes you when it comes to fluency. I'll tell you a quick story about an experiment that I heard about, and it's the power of using your imagination and thinking. There was a basketball team, and the goal of the basketball team was to improve their free throw shooting. So they divided the basketball team in half. Half of the team practiced for a certain amount of time every day using the basketball and standing at the free throw line and practicing their free throws for that time every day. The other half of the team was asked to spend the same amount of time, but they didn't use any basketballs. They just stood at the free throw line and imagined that they were practicing and throwing balls into the net. Well, you can guess which group improved the quickest. It was the part of the team that was not using any balls, because every time they stood at the free throw line and shot the imaginary ball, they got a basket. They never imagined themselves missing shots. They only imagined themselves being successful. And this is why it's so important. When you sit and you think in English, you're going to be repeating conversations in your head that are going to be conversations that are effective, and you feel comfortable and confident because you won't imagine yourself making mistakes. So I would encourage you to make this a daily part of your routine, and you can do it anywhere at any time, which is what's so great about it. Tip number 8, this is just an old school suggestion: exercise with grammar. If you want to improve your grammar, get yourself a grammar exercise book and just go through grammar exercises and make sure you're clear on your English grammar and improve your English grammar. And I recommend doing this, but I don't recommend doing it any more than any of the other things that I've mentioned. Make it a part of your English development, but not the only thing. Don't spend hours and hours in grammar books without doing all the other things. Keep it in balance and spend a little bit of time if you feel you need help with grammar, just doing grammar exercises. And you can find tons of grammar exercises on the internet, and they're very accessible and they're free. And if you want a lesson about how to improve your grammar for IELTS, again, you can find that by subscribing to this YouTube channel. And you can find many lessons on the playlist for improving your English for IELTS. Tip number 9, and I think this is so important: make learning English enjoyable. Don't think of it as a chore. Think of it as something quite natural and enjoyable. When it comes to listening and reading and watching movies and reading books and everything, read the things and watch the things that you enjoy watching, things that are of interest to you. And this will go a long way to helping you become more fluent in English. Make it enjoyable. Talk with friends in English, talk with your family, and enjoy making English a part of your daily routine. And the last tip I want to give you goes right back to just really repeating what I said from the beginning. The key to fluency is to feel confident and competent and comfortable. And to the degree to which you feel this will be the level of your fluency. And so I just want to encourage you to do these things that will help you feel more confident and competent and comfortable. And that way, this will translate to test day when it comes to the IELTS exam. And my last and I guess bonus tip when it comes to the IELTS exam: how do you know when you're ready for the IELTS exam? Well, you're ready for the IELTS exam when you feel fluent enough in English. When you feel that on test day, you'll be totally confident competent and comfortable, that's the time to book your test and know that you're completely prepared for the IELTS exam. Don't do it before that, but when you're ready, when you feel this way, confident, and comfortable, you know that you're fluent enough to have success on the IELTS exam. I hope you found this helpful, and I want to wish you all the best on your journey as you increase your fluency and prepare for the IELTS exam. And don't hesitate to subscribe to this channel for lots more lessons and videos about how you can become fully prepared for the IELTS exam.